Hi, and welcome to episode 7 of No Opinion. My name is Ollie, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the differences between prejudice, bias, stigma, and discrimination. I think it's important to make the distinction between these four because they often get muddled up and used in the same context when really they mean quite different things. And it also is a good way to narrate the real journey of sort of the darker sides of ourselves that perhaps we're less willing to own than other sides, and how they kind of work through us and out from us into the outside world, sometimes consciously, sometimes very unconsciously. So to do that, I'm going to start by reading the dictionary definitions of these words, and then I'm going to use a bit of an example to just kind of carry it through. So starting from the top, let's go with prejudice. So according to Google Dictionary, prejudice is a preconceived opinion that is not based on reason or actual experience. So let's take the example of Netflix. I'm assuming probably a lot of you watching this probably like Netflix, but I think Netflix is rubbish. I've never seen Netflix, but my preconceived opinion, not based on actual experience, is that Netflix is probably rubbish. So that would be my prejudice. Then we'd have bias. Bias is an inclination or prejudice for or against one person or group, especially in a way considered to be unfair. So not only do I think that Netflix is rubbish, but I think that because you like it, that you're stupid. Remember, I've never seen Netflix, so I have no reason to really know why I think it's rubbish, but I just do, and therefore that means you're stupid because you like it. That is my bias. Then we have stigma. Stigma, a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or person. So not only do I think that you're stupid for liking Netflix, even though I've never seen it, but I'm going to tell everyone else now. So I'm going to disgrace your name. I'm going to stigmatize you and tell everybody else that you're stupid because you like Netflix, because Netflix is rubbish, even though I have no reason to know why I think that about Netflix. Okay? And then finally we have discrimination. The unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex. So, having told everyone that I think you're stupid because you like Netflix, if they disagree with me, and I'm assuming you probably already disagree with me, I am going to then ignore those people, or I might even hurt them, so I might actively discriminate against them. All because I think Netflix is rubbish, etc., etc. So you get the point. So that really shows the journey of where I've started with an idea inside myself about a particular thing, and then I've turned it out onto the outside world and made it everyone else's problem, as to say, this has nothing to do with me, you're the issue, not me. So that brings me to an exercise that I would encourage you to do, which might help you explore maybe one of your own biases, because we all have them, whether they're conscious or not. It's just what we do with them next that really makes who we are and how we impact the outside world. So think about 3 identifiable factors that you'd say you most relate with about your life today in this very moment. So for example, take factors such as race, ethnicity, sexuality, your taste in music, your taste in clothes. You may have a disease or a virus, and that is becoming a part of your identity. Maybe you identify with your gender mostly at this moment. Maybe you believe in God, and your belief in God is an identifying factor. Maybe you don't believe in God, and that's your identifying factor. I want you to think, or maybe intelligence. or maybe looks, or whatever it might be. I want you to think of 3 identifying factors where you think, yeah, I really relate with those aspects of myself right here, right now, in this moment. Okay. Now I want you to narrow those down to one thing. So, do you feel mostly like you really identify with, say, your masculinity today? Is your masculinity the most thing that you are feeling most connected with right here, right now, in this very moment? Or, yeah, any of the things I've mentioned. Now what I want you to do is think of the opposite or the opposing factor to the thing you most identify with. So, say if it is your religion, what do you think or feel about someone who doesn't believe in God, for example, who is an atheist? Or what do you think or feel about, say, if it's your masculinity that you most identify with, how do you feel towards someone who is effeminate, either a female themselves or just someone who displays feminine traits? And however you feel or think towards that person or groups of people will often be an indication of perhaps a type of bias that you might have. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to go out and say, for example, it's your heterosexuality that you're identifying with. This doesn't mean that, therefore, your views towards people who are gay is suddenly you want to go out and gay bash everyone. But nonetheless, it's worth clocking with, well, how do you genuinely feel towards that thing that is opposite to you? Do you understand it? Does it make you angry? Does it make you anxious? Are you just not interested at all? Are you blocking it out? What is that response, if there is a response at all? And any response is valid, and it's unique to you, and it's unique to an aspect of yourself that you're probably least in touch with, because it's what we would call, Carl Jung, the great psychologist, psychotherapist, would call the shadow. So all these parts of ourselves that we're aware of, that we consciously identify with, would be our light. It's the bit that we can see. But the bits that we don't see, the parts of our psyche that we are least in touch with, is known as the shadow. And it's the shadow that we project onto others, often unconsciously, either through a bias or a prejudice, whether it's just or unjust, either way. And it's really about looking at ourselves and going, well, yeah, what is... so if, for example, I am like a hyper-masculine individual and I see someone or meet someone who is effeminate or camp maybe even, sometimes even the most homophobic people are gay, and because they feel that, you know, the idea of their own sexuality threatens the idea of their own masculinity. So gay men might feel threatened that being a gay man threatens their sense of what it means to be a true man. And often homophobes can be actually homosexuals who are either in the closet or sometimes even out the closet. So, you know, then it's kind of looking at, well, what is triggering the prejudice to begin with? So if going back to Netflix, maybe I think Netflix is rubbish, even though I've never seen it, actually because my dad hates Netflix. I don't know why he hates Netflix, but he does. And I want my dad's approval. And I'm not going to disagree with my dad. I want my dad's love and approval. And if that means that I have to agree with the fact that Netflix is rubbish, even though I've never seen it, then instead of challenging that part of myself that feels uncomfortable, that might disagree with my dad, I don't want to threaten the idea that I might not get that love and approval from him. So instead, I'm going to throw that out to the world. I'm going to think that other people who like Netflix are stupid, and that Netflix is rubbish, and carry out that stigma and discrimination. And and that's how we get into a whole load of trouble, and our pain becomes kind of like a hotcake. And, you know, I don't want to carry the hotcake. It burns, it's uncomfortable, it's dark, it doesn't feel good. So I'm going to give that hotcake to you, and I'm going to give the hotcake to the person who I least identify with, who feels less connected to my sense of community. So I'm going to make my problem your problem, so it's no longer mine, so I don't have to own it. But inevitably, it's my shadow, and wherever I go, wherever the light is being cast on me, my shadow is going to follow me wherever I go. So I either befriend that shadow, or it ends up just being cast upon everyone else and being made everyone else's problem. And, to extend the hotcake metaphor, rather than being something that I want to chuck at someone else, perhaps I want to make a rack for my hotcake, cool it down, maybe eat the hotcake. Who knows? Anyway, yes, that's my idea. What's yours? Please subscribe, put your comments below, and I'll see you soon. Cheers, thanks, bye.